Okay, take two. Welcome back. Just as I started a few minutes ago, I got an important call that I was waiting for, so I had to abort the mission or put off the mission. But here we are. Okay, so what I'm going to speak about actually is very subtle, very deep. I think extremely important, timely, new, and yeah, more. I'm sure more. I'll do my best. So let me just start actually with a moment of prayer to be able to receive and transmit what needs to be received and transmitted in the most accurate, truthful, empowering, transformational, healing, holy ways possible. Okay, now that I've said that, forgive my imperfect, attempts here. So we just, for those of you who are tracking the Torah calendar, the Jewish people just ended, and the world just ended 3 weeks of mourning, known as the 3 weeks, and culminating with the last 9 days, which are the most intense mourning, known as the 9 days, and ending with the 9th of the month of Menachem Av, which is the anniversary of the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians, the destruction of the second temple by the Romans, and the beginning of the long, extremely long, almost 2,000 years exile that we have been in since then. The Torah has been in exile. The souls of Israel have been in exile. Israel itself has been in exile, which means that all of humanity has been in exile. Because guess what? We're one organism. We're one cosmic superstructure. We're really one soul when you get to the deepest depths of it. And that means that things have to be functioning correctly for the body human to heal and to thrive, to be safe, to be happy. And that requires quite some serious rectification on a number of levels. So we completed Tisha B'Av. It's a 25 plus hour fast in the hottest time of the year. No food, no water. If you know it, you know it. And yet the energy of the day, we're taught that is the day on which Mashiach, the Redeemer, is born. I don't think that means necessarily physically, but energetically, spiritually, in all kinds of ways. And the energy of the day is actually, in the very inner sense, deeper than the morning. It's joyful. It's redemptive. Have to really tune in to feel that. It's not the easiest thing. But in any case, now that time is over as of last night, we have entered officially what's called the 7 weeks of nechama, of consolation, of comfort. And what is the ultimate comfort? The reconciliation between heaven and earth. The reconciliation and recalibration of divine truth, divine love, divine blessings, and our impoverished, limping world. The reconciliation between the soul and the body, between the truth and our awareness of what's true, our beliefs around what's true. The reconciliation between our deepest soul desires, which are also our deepest heart desires, and the world that we live in, the lives that we live. Okay. So it's a very special time. It's a time of reconciliation, starting last night, really. Even before last night, but launching last night. So we have 7 weeks of that. What is 7? What is 7? 7 is the natural order. 7 is the number of the Canaanite nations that were meant to be conquered. According to the Torah, as the souls of Israel were led through the desert, out of Egypt, out of slavery, out of the ultimate exile, into the promised land, there to build a new world. So there were a lot of 7s involved. 7 divine attributes, emotional attributes, 7 midos, or emotions of the heart. This is all Kabbalistic, but just take it from me that the 7 days of creation, 7 is the number of building. It's a number of bringing light out of darkness, which means making new vessels. For many of us, it's been additionally on a personal level, a challenging time, a stressful time. In addition to everything that we are aware of that's happened globally, and each of us may be aware of personally, I lost about 9 days ago, I lost very shockingly, surprisingly, unexpectedly, one of my oldest, most precious friends with whom I feel such a deep, joyful, delightful, heart nourishing, body nourishing, soul connection. I have a collection of memories. I guess that's what I was going to say afterwards, that when I think back to my life, it's been coming to me over and over again as I think about this. She left behind an amazing family, husband, children, grandchildren, communities. It was like a rip in the fabric of the group that I've been, part of tightly and loosely for decades, throughout, from when I was quite young and exploring Torah. Anyway, when we lose someone, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, when we have lost someone very close and precious, it sort of rips the fabric, the quilt that we're all covered with, or rips the tent, rips the fabric. So it brings to a lot of introspection and all kinds of other things as well. In any case, I won't go into all of the details, but I did want to bring that to the table because I want you to know that I mean what I say, that this exploration is very, very real for me. As real as it gets, I would say, so far. Anyway, pretty much. And what I am knowing deeper and deeper in my being is that all of the things that are happening are designed to push us to search, to find, and to walk through a new door. What is that new door? So in a nutshell, that new door is a new way of thinking, a new way of acting, a new way of speaking, a new way of processing information, new beliefs, new demands, a new vision that we align with to our bones, and then to live that, and through living it, to make it real in the physical world. From my perspective, we've been in limbo for a long time. It's a long exile. It's a long human experience, long time since the fall of the Garden of Eden. So much suffering under the bridge, so much, incalculable. One loss is incalculable. One. So I don't want to go deeper into that space because we all know what that is. And now the world looks like it's shaking, breaking. How do we end this limbo? It should, quote unquote, nothing that's happening isn't what's supposed to happen. So it's all meant to be, because the process is consciousness dependent. But it should have, could have, theoretically been over a long time ago. The projected time for redemption, according to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, according to the Vilna Gaon, other sources, is about somewhere in the region of 1991. 1991 is when the redemption process really began, when the number of sparks that needed to be elevated for that to happen, for a new door to open, to be found and walk through. That's about 1991. So what are we doing? What's happening since then? And I want to postulate that we are stuck in the past. I told you this is going to be deep and subtle, so bear with me if you want to. But I think it's as important as things get right now. We've been stuck in the past collectively and individually. That means our collective past, the trauma, the drama, the beliefs that come out of that, the beliefs that foster that, and our own individual pasts in a similar way. Everything's a fractal, what we could expect, the dashed dreams, the disappointments, the frustrations. Okay, there are also miracles. I don't know how many people here, if you were in a class, I would ask for you all to say yes if you've ever experienced an unexpected miracle. In fact, we can do that. So I would really appreciate it if you have ever experienced an unexpected miracle. You say yes. You can do that if you're listening to the replay. Also, Facebook has tight algorithms now, so people receiving notification of live broadcasts fewer and fewer. But if you want, share with your friends. We can break through that. And if you've ever experienced a miracle, an unexpected miracle, say yes. Type yes in the comment bar, whether Facebook, YouTube comments, whatever. So I've experienced many unexpected miracles, and yet my mind has remained, my system, my wiring, the brain wiring and everything that goes with it has remained stuck to that collective trauma to a very large degree. So my pattern has been in recent years, there could be a crisis, a threat. Sometimes things are fine and peaceful and great. Then if there's a crisis or a threat, then I'll pull out all the stops and lean in to do whatever I can do, whatever I know how to do, whatever I don't know how to do, to bring down a miracle, primarily through deep prayer and positioning myself in a certain way. And then often miracles have happened. But that's new wiring, like sometimes incredible miracles that you would not believe. New wiring, it has to permeate our entire system to be our reality. So that's what I think is the problem, that we're stuck to the past, and therefore we cannot see the new door, and we don't even search for it. And if we hear about it, we don't take it personally, we don't walk through it, we don't know how to walk through it, we don't believe that we could walk through it. So back to the Torah perspective. There's a story related in the Midrash about the sun and the moon. On the fourth day of creation, God created two great luminaries. Think about that. Put two great luminaries in the sky, meaning they were both great. Not one was great and the other, not one was a luminary, the other was a flat reflector. They were both the same size. They were the same inner light, both shining light from the inside, both great, two the same in the sky. And the Midrash relates that the moon complained and said, how can you have two rulers in the same sky? You can't have two rulers in the same sky. And so God, story is kind of funny, but God diminished the size of the moon greatly, made it into a reflector, so took away its inner light, sent it down into the darkness to shine into the world. And yet, at the same time, God promised the moon that in the future, in the time of redemption, the moon would be restored to her full glory, size, and luminosity. Now, the moon, according to Hasidus and Kabbalah, is the Shekhinah. What is the Shekhinah? The Shekhinah, like Adam and Eve, were created side by side as one being, and then Hashem separated them, or some say back to back. They were male and female. It was male and female, separated so that they could have a separate but face-to-face relationship, which would start out unbalanced and not necessarily harmonious, and then would move toward more and more consciousness and harmony till there would be a reunification in each person having expressed themselves and involved themselves fully, and then able to be in a full relationship, adding fullness from two parts to one much greater whole. Same with the sun and the moon, meaning same with God, the Kadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah. God also, masculine, feminine, divided the sun and the moon. Our mashalim, our analogies of that, sent the female part, the divine feminine, into exile, down into the world. Like the moon is much lower, orbits the earth. The sun does not orbit the earth. The sun shines upon us from way high up. It doesn't seem to care too much what we do. Anyway, there's so many different ways to talk about this, and it's such a fractal, so many different perspectives from which we could talk about it, but I want to keep on this particular track. So we'll explain also that in the book Shar Yichud, which I don't have in my hand right now, but I've showed you several times if you've been following me for a while. It's the core text that we learn, one of the core texts, really the core text that we learn in the influencer program, which the link to which is at the bottom of this video scrolling, if you want to check it out. If you have questions after you check it out, feel free to shoot me an email, and we can set up a time to connect if you feel like it might be for you. That program is a center of spiritual alchemy on the deepest levels. But in any case, in Shar Yichud, it talks about our relationship with God. And there are different levels of our relationship with God. There are different analogies for it. Not any one analogy can fully express, a physical analogy can fully express a spiritual truth. So the spiritual truth that is expressed by the analogies in Shar Yichud, in the book, The Gate of Unity, after which my entire work is named, it is that we relate to God in different ways. So one of the primary ways that we relate to God is like the sun, shining, impervious, whether we're looking at it or not, it's always there. We can't lessen its light. We can't increase its light. We can receive it if we go out and, put our faces up to it. If we close off the window, we won't see the light of the sun, but it doesn't change the sun. There are a lot of things to say about that analogy. Then there's another analogy, and that's God, the creator. He creates, he The world remains in existence regardless, more or less, of what we do. The cosmos, at least we could say, remains in existence regardless of what we do. We can't really change it on that level. That's one aspect of God with which we relate. Then there's another aspect of God. And that is compared to that mashal, that analogy is like a candle, the light of a candle. So what's the difference between the sun and a candle? First of all, the sun is an overwhelming light. It doesn't light up. You don't have it inside your house. It's not personal. It's cosmic. Yes, how much light you receive will depend on where you are, how much, how big your curtains are, how big your filters are, or whatever. But that's called the Or Yashar, straight light. It shines into the world no matter what. That's like creation in its base. That's like the playing field, the game. This multiverse would not exist without God. In fact, there is nothing but God. So that fact you could compare to the sun. Again, it's much more complicated than what I'm explaining here, much more multifaceted, but I want to make my point. We're leading to the new door. The light of, did I say the light of a moon? And if I did, I meant to say the light of a candle. The light of a candle is a light that's internalized. It lights up a room, a dark room in a house. You have to move the candle to the dark corners. And when you do, you can see things emerge that otherwise wouldn't show up. It's personal. The candle doesn't shine by itself. The candle, interestingly, fascinatingly, really, is the candle has to be held to a wick that keeps it here in this physical world, because fire, the sun isn't the same kind of fire. It's a different element, Hasidus tells us. But the light of a candle is divine fire. It actually represents the light of the soul, which is also divine fire, divine Vora. And the nature of fire the nature of everything is to reach toward its source. So where's the source of the candlelight, of that tangible fire that we can light, that we could blow out, that we could, light another candle from it? That source is underneath Galgal HaYereach. It's underneath the orbit of the moon. That's what Kabbalah says. Whatever that. So the candle is constantly, all fires are leaping up, shaking, trying to get off the wick or off the log or off the torch to reunite with the source. Likewise, the soul is in that state of dynamic tension where it's constantly trying to go back to its source, God, infinite bliss in the connection with God, and yet it's held down by the body and by the sparks of divinity that are in the body, by the mission. Now, what keeps the candle, the fire held to the wick? That is the substance that gets burned. So if you put a fire on a wick, the wick would burn up really quickly and the fire would go back to its source. We wouldn't see it here. It would no longer be tangible and physical, go back to its source. But when the fire is consuming the wax or the oil or the wood or whatever it is that it's connecting to, as long as it's burning that substance, it keeps burning. In fact, it burns even brighter. So likewise, the soul in the body, what is it burning? It is burning the concealment. It is burning the things that it uses from mitzvahs to connect to God. For example, a coin that you might use to serve yourself or even to, exploit someone else. If you use it, if you give it to charity or you use it to create something holy or helpful or divine or good, then you're using that piece of metal, which conceals, and its power, which intrinsically has often been used to conceal its source, and you're burning up the concealment and revealing the source. So each time, and Shari Yichud explains this in detail, each time a person does a mitzvah or works with some aspect of him or herself to burn it up, in other words, to burn up the concealing part of it, use it instead as a channel to reveal light, that light actually gets released. Those divine sparks get released, rise up to the source of creation and beyond into the worlds of Tohu, and bring down a new light into the entire system of creation, the multiverse. So every time you're doing something positive, whether it's literally a commandment, whether you're Jewish or non-Jewish, you have commandments that are divine wisdom and will directed at you. And you should know that when you do them, even the ones that are involved not doing, where you're subjugating your temptations to not steal from someone or, not eat unkosher food if you're Jewish or whatever it might be, not hurt somebody, not follow your hedonistic impulses. So whenever you do that, you're literally burning up concealment, the concealment that comes from the body, the ego, the nature of the physical world, the snake energy that runs through the physical world. You're releasing the divine sparks that are hidden within that. That's why you're encountering it God directs every footstep of man, and you are literally releasing those sparks. They go back up to their source and catalyze a release of new light from the primordial worlds that are too sublime and infinite to be fitting into our system of creation, physical and spiritual. Now all of the universe, all of the multiverse leaps up a level every time, every time. Meanwhile, you become more transparent, more illuminated. Okay, so this is the path. This is the process. Here's the thing. Here's where I want to talk about the new door. So I have been doing a lot of meditating, a lot of praying, some crying over the past, 10 days, specifically, especially the first few days, attempting to come into some kind of resolution, peace, deeper consciousness about what the heck. I remember like a few weeks ago when the Surfside thing happened, I think that was still within the 3 weeks of mourning. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. Toward the beginning, but if not, it was right before. And the question came to my mind, like, is this the relationship that God wants with us? Of this tragedy? And you have to answer from one perspective, yes, if you're a believer, because without that, it wouldn't be happening. Ein od milvado, there's nothing but the one. And I know this triggers some people, and we can talk about it because it's a deep truth, but it's a truth. If there's only one God, nothing can happen in the world that God is not involved in. If God is recreating the world at every instant from absolute divine nothingness, from infinite potential, there can't be anything that's brought into being that doesn't have some aspect of divine desire in it, even if the desire is to bring it to our attention again so we can fix it. Whatever it is, there aren't two forces in the world. There's a polarity, the way things show up as two forces or more than two forces, but in actual fact, there's only one core principle of reality. Core, ein od milvado. There's nothing here but the one. So then when my dear friend passed away, and it was such a shock, and I had just actually, before I heard about it, I'd just been thinking, like 1 minute before, I was looking at a back rubbing device that she gave me that kind of over my protests when I saw her in Chicago 2-3 months ago. And I was thinking, should I give back to her? It's too heavy for me to take to Israel. Will she be insulted? And I was just thinking that thought when I got a text that a notice for her funeral. And my brain didn't, it was such a shock and unexpected that my brain didn't encompass it at all at first. It still really can't. But what happened is that something happened inside my own being that I want to share with you. I've been sharing it with people in my classes and people that I, connect with like physically. And I want to share it with you now. And I'd love it if you resonate, if you want to share it with others, share this video, share the concept. And again, leave your comments, your feedback, your thoughts. When I was in a class, I'll just preface, when I used to teach a class in my home in Jerusalem for about 3.5 years to an amazing group of women. And one of them used to constantly say, I want a new thought. I want a new thought, a brand new thought. And I'd be like, yeah, that would be nice. What would be a really new thought? Not just like new information, but like a whole new thought. How could you have a new thought that's outside of anything you ever thought? Like from another realm? Well, I feel like I got a new thought. And I started thinking about this relationship with God, with Hashem. Is this the relationship that God wants with us? And on that level, obviously, yes, but really yes? Or is that what the limbo is about? To change that relationship, to step into a new relationship. And here's where the sun and the moon come in. And this is just the beginning of my exploration of this. So I really think it's far deeper than what I see already. But I can tell you that for sure, I see already that it's life-changing. I think that one of the changes that we need to make now is not to abandon our previous relationship, because we want to relate to all parts and all aspects of God. And God is our source. So we can't say, I don't want this, I want that. But I think that we can change the whole thing, how it all comes out, by starting to relate to the aspect of God that is our mother. Now, I was brought up by a very feminist father. There was never even a discussion about being what you can't do because you're a girl, or what you have to do because it didn't exist. I was the oldest. There was a lot of pressure on me. And it wasn't particularly a feminine type of pressure. So when people talk about, people have asked me, why do you call God he? I can explain it according to the text and so forth. but it's not an issue for me. It's not an issue for me being oppressed. It's like, you know, because of gender, it's just not. But this is so powerful. And that is, what is a mother? My friend was an amazing mother. Like, she was, and all good mothers, the archetype of mother, not everybody has that kind of mother, but we all can know it. We can know it by the way, you know, a mother lion or a mother bear or a mother bird, even, you know, mother eagle will protect her young. They'll be behind her. Nothing will get to them. So that's the archetypal mother, that nothing will get to my child. Nothing will get to my little one. You'll have to go through me, and you're not going through me. Like, it's a fierce, unconditional, intimate, adoring, protective love that protects the child no matter what, whether they deserve it or not, at all costs. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about God as our mother. Do you think that the mother archetype comes from nowhere? No, it's a hidden level of our relationship with God that we get to invoke and activate now, imperfectly, without exactly knowing how it's going to unfold, if it resonates with you. So what does that mean? I'm going to support this with something from a text of the Rebbe. The Rebbe in Parshas Shmos of Likutei Sichos Chelik Lamed Vav, for those of you who want to look it up. The Rebbe talks about the story of Moses, that Moses confronted two wayward Jews, and he was then living in the palace of Pharaoh. Had been adopted by his daughter, you know, was favored by the king, but he killed an Egyptian taskmaster, and he was seen, and he was confronted with it, and he became afraid. That's like the short version. So the Rebbe talks about this, like, why did Moses become afraid? And he goes through back and forth. How could such a great tzaddik be afraid? Was he afraid for his life? Was he afraid for the fact that he saw sin in his, you know, in his people, that they would be punished? What was the fear? The bottom line is that the Rebbe says that if he had not been afraid, even though word of his action had come to Pharaoh, Pharaoh had already sent people to chase after him, to put him under a sentence of execution. If he had not been afraid, but if he had trusted God, something would have happened and the whole thing would have been forgotten. In other words, the past would have changed, nature would have changed. Hashem is bringing it into being now and now and now and now anyway, from infinite divine potential. So what's the difference? He can bring it in any way he wants. He can tell any story he wants, like those, you know, TV series where they kill off the main character and then people complain, so they create some kind of, it was a dream, or there was a fairy or whatever. God can do that, like, blink of an eye, not even. So what is this bitachon? What is this trust that we're commanded to? And the Rebbe explains that trust is not faith. It is predicated on faith, because if you don't have faith that there is an all-powerful being that can do anything, who can you trust? You know, you can trust someone and yet they can't help you. Not the case with God. So faith tells us that God is the creator, all-powerful. It is the knowing of the soul that we can tap into. That's a super conscious power. Emunah, it's one of the highest powers, if not the highest power of the soul on that level. But it's not trust. You can have faith that bad is for good. You can have faith that God is good, but you're not so good, so you need to learn a lesson or whatever. That's all. You can have faith when bad things happen. That, you know, this is how faith has been characterized forever, at least in the Torah tradition. You can have faith that when something, God forbid, horrible happens, God is loving us, but we can't see it. And the way I feel that kind of faith is like a bowing of the head and accepting. But what does it feel like inside? It feels horrible. To me, at least, and even for those people who are more evolved and like connect to the future world more than I do on a visceral level, and they really feel that, you know, everything is just God. And there are people that kind of vibe with that in an everyday. I'm much more, you know, up and down. I got a lot of transformation to do. I'm sure that's core of my purpose. But on a visceral level, it leaves you feeling like, okay, my human self has to be sad. My human self how could you feel unafraid? How could you possibly have trust based on that level of faith? when you believe, when you know that love can come out as hurt, that good can come out as teaching you a lesson that, God forbid. So for that, you need to take it to another level, and it's a whole other level. That is, even though it's bitachon, trust is predicated on emunah, on faith, it's such a different level that it is a mitzvah in and of itself, and what it is, and it breaks through all barriers. So here's the promise that if we can reach a level of trust, all of the good will come down as good. Trust evokes a different relationship, a new door, a new relationship with God, in which God protects you fiercely, whether you deserve it or not. I'm paraphrasing, but I didn't make this up. Okay? To me, the way to understand that on a visceral level, to vibrate with it, to entrain to it, that's the archetypal mother. If God is my mother that will stand in front of anything that threatens me, then what do I have to fear? And it's a new door, and it's a new thought. So that means it might not be what we've experienced in the past. And yay, time to step into it, time to explore it and see what happens. There is one exception to this, which I have also, I told you I've been thinking about this like almost nonstop for quite a while now, for several days now, 7, 10 days, 8 days, 9 days, whatever. So there's one exception, and that is, we're taught that the temple was destroyed because of baseless hatred of each other, jealousy, whatever. And we're taught that the temple will be rebuilt through unconditional love and acceptance. So here's where I take from the human experience again of mother. I know with my own children, I will, if I can possibly intervene, and this has been many of my miracles where there's been something happening and there wasn't a possibility in nature to make it change. And yet I have reached out to God and it has changed. Thank you, Hashem. So I will do anything as a mother to create a situation where any lessons that my children have to learn, they will learn in the easiest possible way. And if there's absolutely no choice but to let them feel some pain, I will still surround them and protect them to the very best and even beyond my human ability, unless they're mean to each other. If they're mean to each other, if one is mean to another one, right away, someone's hurting my child. Okay, it's one of my other children. But what happens is that mother instinct for protection comes out against, in a certain way, at least, mentally, I never want one of my children to ever suffer in any way, forbid. But, I'll start right away thinking, arrogant, selfish, how could you, and it'll come to my mind all of the things that ever happened that made me angry at that child, or instead of, as the mother, loving unconditionally, that's my default. I don't want to think about it. Okay, they got problems, they'll grow, I just love them. So that's a deep concept also for those of you wondering what this Ahavas Yisrael, this unconditional love thing actually is. Think about it from the mother perspective. It's not good for us to judge or be mean to others, because then it causes the mother to defend the one that we're upset with. That's not good for anyone, right? But barring that, God is our mother. Talk to God as your mother. You can call God mommy if you want to. I know I'm like stepping out on a limb here in a way, but I'm feeling good about it. I'm standing for it. Because here's the other piece. The moon is the Shekhinah, the feminine part of God. It's also called Knesset Yisrael, which means the congregation of Israel. It's the source of the soul of Israel, the collective soul of Israel. That's the Shekhinah. And that is the feminine aspect of God. I believe it goes way higher than that also, but I'm not going to go there right now. But we are taught that the Shekhinah is in Golis, that everywhere the souls go, the Shekhinah goes with us. That when we're suffering, the Shekhinah is suffering with us. So if we can liberate our connection, our paradigm about faith and replace it with trust, if we can liberate can't help but have it be judgmental, and it's been necessary to train us, to mature us, to grow us, which is why we can move now, which is why we're ready for something else now, some of us anyway, imperfectly. We don't have to be perfect to have a mother. We have to be committed to our growth, and then our mother can protect us, and our father doesn't have to be stern or masterful, in that sense. So as we redeem our souls with love, as we redeem our relationship with a new thought, as we walk through this new door, which requires spiritual alchemy, we are literally, in my opinion, redeeming the Shekhinah, bit by bit, bringing it out of Gullus. I don't see another way. This is the way. And I think that this is the work that's waiting to be done, the joy that's ready, and safety and blessing and love that's ready to be stepped into and absorbed and aligned with. We need to unwire the things that stand in the way of our allowing that in and, bring it in more and more. It's a back and forth process, part of the spiritual alchemy. But I think that that's what's up. I think that's what's up. And I think that's what this limbo is all about. So does God want the relationship that has brought so many tragedies? Clearly, he has wanted that. Does he want something else much more deeply? I believe so. But see, that much deeper thing, because bitachon is an internalized experience. It's not a belief, which is called makif, which is surrounding and transcendent and beyond us and subtle and sublime, but kind of shines on us like the sun. The sun is makif. The moon, the candle, is internalized. So bitachon is an internalized experience of love and trust and relatedness and protection and unconditional closeness and togetherness. To internalize that, that's the candle, burning that which is in the way, bringing out light, catalyzing a flowing down of light from an infinite place, Soviv Kol Almin, which was never in the universe, in the multiverse before. So this is the redeeming of the Shekhinah from Gullus catalyzes an internalization of makif light from way beyond the system, level by level, step by step, bit by bit, or maybe leap by leap, maybe quantum level by quantum level, who knows? The more of us who engage in it, the more powerful it will be. We're connecting to a morphic field and co-creating that morphic field. So that light, that internalized light of bitachon, how do you know when you're in that state? Your body relaxes. You're not fighting with yourself. You're letting go. Your vibration moves up. Your frequency goes higher. The sunshine is shining inside from your heart, and so much more. This internalization is always about the divine feminine. The divine feminine is always about internalization, but paradoxically, that internalization, which would seem like a smaller light, the moon, the candle, is much smaller than the sun. But when it's internalized, it allows for a light that's beyond the sun and beyond the moon to shine into us. And that is our next stage of evolution. That changes everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. So this is the ultimate source of healing as far as I can see it. And I invite everybody to please share this video, please comment, please leave your questions, your feedback. How does it hit you? How does it resonate with you? Do you want to talk about it more? And in terms of spiritual alchemy, what is alchemy? Just finish with this. Alchemy, if you look it up in Merriam-Webster, which I did, alchemy is the transmutation of base metal to gold, together with the pursuit to the cure of all illnesses and infinite life, like an end to death, basically. What is redemption? It is the revelation of all darkness as brilliant light. It is a cure to all illnesses, emotional, physical, social, financial, spiritual, and everything else. And it is infinite life, no more death. So spiritual alchemy is the call of the hour, without any doubt, And it's a practice. You need to know how to do it. If you want help with it, that's what my influencer, soul-based, soul-infused influencer program is all about. So you can check out the program if you want to have something to look at the link that's scrolling beneath this video. And if you're curious, you want to know more, you want to know if the program's for you, and you don't know how to figure it out just from reading a page, of course, I would expect that. So reach out to me, and we'll make a time to connect, whether by text or, if necessary, for a really quick conversation with your with your questions. I can guarantee you that I cannot do other than, I'm not capable of telling somebody to do something I think wouldn't be good for them. I'm not capable of it. Even if I'd want to. Why would I want to? But whatever. I'm not capable, so it's moot. So I am happy to be, if you feel that this might be for you and you just have questions, that's the situation in which you should reach out to me. After you've looked at the page, I will be happy to sit on the same side of the table as you, look at your life, and give you my very, very best insight and feedback on whether this is right for you, how it could help, and things like that. But regardless of whether you take advantage of that offer or not, know that spiritual alchemy is the new door, that God as our mother, redeeming the Shekhinah from Gullus, is, in my opinion, and it's all a work in progress, right? It's a hypothesis or a theory, or maybe somewhere in between, which means that it's a work in progress, it's an exploration. That redeeming the Shekhinah from Gullus is what's up, it's the new door, it's the new thought. But here's the deal, and I don't think I said this. This is work that cannot be done by us alone or by God alone. The sun can shine, it does. Kadosh Baruch Hu shines, doesn't matter what we do, like I said in the beginning of this live stream. When we're not trying to change things, we can bow our everything is God, of course, but on the human level, we can bow our heads and go on the same way as we always did without needing a supernatural assistance. The natural assistance, which is all divine, is enough. But when we want to make a very deep quantum change in our very level of being, in the core principles of the universe, in how human beings and their source show up together, and naturally then how the universe, the multiverse, including this physical world, show up and unfold, if we want to do that, that is something that is a partnership, can only be done in partnership. God can't redeem the Shekhinah by himself, because the Shekhinah is us. And as long as we're in Gullus, the Shekhinah is in Gullus, and even God is sad. And we certainly can't redeem the Shekhinah by ourselves. How could we? The Torah says a person can't free himself from jail. You can't see beyond what you can see. You can't be beyond what you can be unless you connect to your source. So in partnership and a new exploration of this new door and this new thought, it's spiritual alchemy, we can start to turn the tragedy, the energy of tragedy, into the energy of redemption. What happened, is real, and we have to feel it and process it. But from this moment on, from looking forward, we have free choice in how we want to show up, what we want to demand, what we want to align with. Is it perfect? Is anything guaranteed? Absolutely not. Are miracles abundant and available? Absolutely yes. And the more we can look, see, perceive, absorb, allow for, wire in and align with that new door, that new path, that new relationship, the more the miracles will show up. That's just how it works. I'm speaking from experience as well. It's not it's not theoretical. But the theory pulls me deeper in all the time, as do my life experiences. So I want to invite everybody to join with me in this, walking through this new door, and to do it with as much joy and curiosity as we can, honoring all of our feelings, honoring all of our traumas, demanding that we be freed from them, not being stuck in them. We have to be willing to let the past go into the past in order to receive a new future. We have to be able to forgive the past, forgive ourselves, forgive the things that happened to us, the people that did those things to us, God himself, herself. We have to be able to forgive the past, or we hold ourselves to that past, and we hold everyone else to it as well. Another topic for another discussion. But if you want to do that, join me, because I'm taking a stand for this, but not by myself. I'm done doing things by myself. I don't have that much power, and I don't have that much energy, and I don't have that much tolerance for the way things have been. I want out of this limbo into the joyous new world, and I think we're right there. So lots of love, and I'll see you next time. Take care.